We are watching this very closely. We want to let you know that the Dow Jones Industrials appears at this very moment to be heading back down to session lows. I want you to mark the level of a loss of 549 points. The Dow is down 542. Just a few minutes ago, we had a 4 handle on the losses. But as you see, we're starting to see an acceleration here on the losses. NASDAQ as well, now down 154. Low of the NASDAQ was 156. So we're almost there right now. Now we're down 155, so, you know, it's a moving target, but it's mostly moving south. British Prime Minister Theresa May trying to put on a happy face today as she left Brussels after meeting with the European Union's biggest leaders, all who said afterward they're unmoved. The Brexit deal that they worked out with her stands as is. It will not be changed. Reports say the Euro leaders grilled her for answers on what she needs to get her deal with them. It's already in place through Parliament, but May came up empty, leaving a no-deal Brexit more of a possibility than ever before. And the fear is showing up, certainly in the United Kingdom stock market. Look at the FTSE 100. It is in correction now, down 11% year to date, leaving a lot of people to question, and not just across the pond, but here too. Now what? And will there be contagion? The man who perhaps better than anyone else might see the situation most clearly joins us now. David O'Sullivan, the current European Union ambassador to the U.S., is here in a Fox Business exclusive. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us. Theresa May dodged the bullet, certainly, surviving that no-confidence vote back on Wednesday evening. She left Brussels empty-handed today, though. I have to ask, is there any chance that European Union leaders will give her some wiggle room and maybe closer to that March 29th deadline agree to renegotiate a Brexit deal?
Well, I think everyone now accepts that the ball is very firmly back in the court of the British government and the British Parliament. The European leaders were very clear last night. We've been negotiating this withdrawal agreement for many, many months. It's gone through many variations and improvements and adaptations. And the text which is now on the table is the best deal that we can negotiate. And there is really no scope for reopening that. Of course, it's always possible to give new clarifications or new assurances. For example, nobody believes that the famous backstop should become anything like a semi-permanent state. It would be a temporary measure if ever it needed to be used, and we all hope it won't need to be used. But I think the impression left after the meeting last night is that the UK still needs to do some additional homework to figure out exactly how they now want to take this situation forward in order to avoid a no-deal Brexit at the end of March.
Okay, and just to be clear, because the headlines that we've been seeing and putting up is Theresa May stabbed in the backstop. And again, the backstop really is the issue with that Irish border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. I don't understand why United Kingdom Brexiteers, people who want Brexit, that I get, but why they wouldn't at least want that part left in, that there can be free trade both with Northern and then regular Ireland. Because to me, I think that just helps everybody, does it not? It's almost like a gift in a way.
Well, indeed. I think both the British government and the Irish government and all the other 26 European governments agree that preserving the peace process and keeping Ireland free of a hard border is eminently desirable.
I suppose, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I suppose that the Brexiteers feel that then the European Union, you guys would dangle that like a sword of Damocles over the heads of the United Kingdom.
I don't think, maybe some people believe that, but that would never be the intention. What concerns the European Union is to preserve the peace process and to preserve the integrity of the single market. And we sincerely hope that it will be possible in the future trade negotiations with the UK to find a solution that achieves both those objectives. The backstop is an insurance policy. It's a solution of last resort if, within the timeframes which are set out in the withdrawal agreement, we haven't been able to find a fully fledged solution through a new trade arrangement, then we need a kind of emergency brake to make sure that there is no return to a hard border on the island of Ireland. And we believe that the withdrawal agreement achieves that at no threat either to the constitutional position of Northern Ireland or to the integrity of the United Kingdom as a whole.
Our markets are swooning, and a piece of what's pushing them down has to be a slowdown in the European Union. People are noticing some numbers, just as Mario Draghi says, you know what, we are going to stop the stimulus. We're ready to do that right now. The economy stands on its own 2 feet pretty solidly now.
Indeed.
Where do you stand on that? Do you agree with him?
Well, it's not for me to agree or disagree with the president of the central bank, but I think, in fact, we've had positive growth across all the countries of the eurozone now for a couple of years. I think we have returned to a much more sustainable economic situation in the eurozone, and I think indeed the ECB, of course, they're independent. It's their decision to phase out their measures, but they obviously feel that there is sufficient confidence. And if you look forward into the projections for next year and beyond, these are all positive numbers. Then the economy is booming in Europe in many ways. We have the highest level of employment that we've had for many, many years. So there's a lot that's very positive. Of course, there are always downside risks, and the international trade situation is one of those. But we're quietly confident that the European economy will continue to grow quite nicely.
Quietly confident it'll grow quite nicely. That is certainly important. One quick question, and we've got to run. But the protests in France. I'm actually headed to France pretty soon. I love that country. I did a year abroad there, but are things? I get more people asking me, "Are you going to be okay?" And of course, I say yes. What do I care? I mean, it's going to be fine. But what is going on there now?
Well, I think there is obviously a feeling of unease over some of the reforms which President Macron is bringing in. He's brought in a large number of reforms in quite a short period. Clearly, the fuel tax provoked a strong public reaction. He has responded to that with some rolling back of some of what he's done and also some additional measures. You know, we're going through a difficult economic and political time globally and also in France, and sometimes it spills out onto the streets. But I think the government has shown a good response, and I think you'll have a great vacation in a wonderful country that is France.
Thank you. Yeah. This one's not scared, but, you know, other people are. Good to see you, Ambassador. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
David O'Sullivan, EU Ambassador to the United States.